मला पण झोपेत होते पण झोपच दिला नाही. तू काय झाली होती का जेव्हा ओरडत होते आणि टीचर्स बोलत होते ओरडा पडला एक विचार आहे तू बिना अशी चांगली दिसल्यावर तू काय जरूर वाचणार ऐक ना मला तुझा नंबर दे तुझा नाही आहे चालेल ते 90 तुझा एज काय आहे
Oh, I
We were doing last class.
we completed chapter. We completed
Chapter cell division over. Cell division structure of proposal that is over for one. Already started. Yes. Now you have your volumes with you. Already have your volumes with you.
Yes.
Let's see. This is the volume there. Look at the volume. If one or two, if you don't have, then just share. If you complete some questions from the text about cell division,
Yes, ma'am.
check your book. If we complete something questions, all will not be able to do, but you are supposed to go through all the questions. Any question you find doubtful, you have to ask me. You have to tell me in the class. Okay. So I may pick up some few questions to be solved in the class, but that does not mean that only those few will be solved. You are supposed to go through all the questions. In the book, there are some few questions. Let's just go through some questions from page 17. Few questions from page 17. Which chapter are we supposed to start today? You all need genetics. That's the second chapter you are still going on.
Yes.
All of you.
I'm translating. Translation.
Translation is going on.
Translation.
Nothing is going on. Absorption of fluids would sit down to the books now. Why are you having a question? Books के लिए बैठ सकते हैं. So why are they rushing so much? Why are they rushing so much? Why are they rushing? Circulatory done, excretory done, and nervous system. Huh?
I need to plan.
No,
you can study that.
You don't want to do
Plants.
You don't want to do
Plants.
Now, just from the board questions, few questions I will take, and then we move on now. Genetics, how many of you want? Right? Genetics is done in your school?
No.
Acha, this side?
Absorption.
Absorption. When is your exam?
July 8th. But we have our online internal.
When?
Like from this Friday, like the next Friday we have our bio genetics.
Okay. First of all, you take this chapter, take these questions, look into page 17. Look into page 17. Look into page 17. Try number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Go to the next page. Number 7. Number 8. Number 10. I'm just picking some. You should go through all later. 15. There are even more. Just this few I want you to do now. But you will go through all the questions later. Some of them are similar type of questions. Keep doing, then we'll go on to the next chapter. That's what I'm not able to decide because most of you need absorption.
Next week we have holidays.
Next week, no holidays. How come?
7th.
So from when is your holiday starting?
5th.
5th May. Exams for 20 months.
15th.
50. And absorption is there.
No, genetics.
Genetics is there. For the
7th.
7th day. How many of you from 7th day?
There are 6, 7, but they didn't came.
They did not come today. They are there. 6 of them are there.
Yeah.
Okay, then in that case, I'll have to start this. I'll start genetics then in that case. And you all have absorption, but no exams right now.
No.
June, it's okay. So we take genetics and after that we take absorption. Okay, so, first we go through these questions. You'll come and sit with them.
I also don't have.
Very good. Why don't you get the volume?
Ma'am, actually, you always teach from textbook and draw diagrams.
The volume also you will bring because in the volume we have all the board questions, so many extra questions. You all are using Selena. In the volume questions from the other books are also there. We have put on. So those questions also. This side, 2 books. First bench. 2 books, no? Give them. Write neatly in his book. Don't scribble anything. Come here and sit. And this side also, no? You got one? You got one. Okay. Take 10 minutes only to solve. In the book itself, no, you can write. You have a doubt, you will ask. Don't waste your time searching. If you're not getting the answers, please ask so that you finish fast.
Now I have doubt. The cell component is visible during cell division. First question, sub-question number 4. Is it central?
Cell component?
Cell visible during visible only during cell division.
Cell component visible only during cell division.
Is it central?
Visible only during cell division.
Yes, ma'am.
So visible only during cell division. Only during cell division.
Ma'am, I think it's good.
Only during cell division would be
so, ma'am, but before cell division also we have had centriole specimen, but during cell division, the chromatin microscope converted the
cell component visible only during cell division. Okay.
Ma'am, actually chromosomal centriole is a second before also, like before the cell division.
During the process of cell division. Centriole is present prominently in certain stages. More appropriate chromosomes.
Yes, ma'am.
Chromatin not shown. Centriole also, but centriole in certain stages is prominent. Not in all stages. So chromosomes during cell division. Chromosomes.
number will be the number of chromosomes present.
What is it?
Diploid.
Diploid number is the total number of chromosomes.
So if there are 4 mentioned in the diagram, that means there are 4 chromosomes.
4 is the diploid number. Prophase. Nuclear membrane disappears and the spindle starts getting formed. Is in the late prophase stage. What happened?
This is the diagram.
This diagram. This is the prophase stage.
That's your question. What is it?
No, amazing नहीं कर। अच्छा हाँ कर सकते हैं।
Central है, most pro. Central है. Same space.
Yeah, the urgent of the same gene having the same position on lowest chromosomes. Centromere.
Same position. Wait,
जितो ऑटो
ऑटोसोम्स नहीं होगा बाद में अजीब शब्द बोला अजीब शब्द देखो हाँ वही लास्ट में सामने मेंशन किया ऐसा संदेश पार्ट्स रहते हैं ऐसे होते हैं
वो तो कोरोना का ही
समान ही पूछ रहे हैं माफी से माफी
फिफ्थ का क्वेश्चन है हमें repeating components of each unit strand.
Okay, nuclear membrane disappears when the chromosomes start to
ये
come
first seventh का second part क्या है?
thick, उसमें
प्रोफेस आता है। प्रोफेस और इस seventh का second का
nucleotides
न्यूक्लियोटाइड्स है।
वो ऐसा वो nitrogenous base phosphate group
Name of pair of corresponding homologous. Give below is a diagram representing the stage during meiosis cell division.
metaphase नहीं metaphase नहीं
Metaphase.
anaphase है anaphase
हाँ anaphase sorry. क्योंकि ये divide हो रहा है। नहीं anaphase है anaphase।
telophase में separation हो गया cytokinesis में separation हो गया
It is animal cell because it does not have a cell wall.
cell wall
हाँ cell wall होता है।
नहीं है जब आगे का फैन को ऑन करना
It's an animal cell because it does not have a cell wall.
Presence of centrosome
हाँ cell wall भी नहीं है ना तो फिर वो animal cell है
चैप्टर के centrosome नहीं पढ़ते क्या
मतलब वो भी है बट हमको ये
centrosome और cell wall
और इसमें सेल वॉल क्यों लिखा है न्यूक्लियस का है न्यूक्लियर मेम्ब्रेन रहता है इसमें हाँ तो न्यूक्लियर मेम्ब्रेन दिखा हमने तो सेल नहीं दिखा इसलिए उसमें ये भी नहीं है क्या बोलते हैं न्यूक्लियर कंपोनेंट्स भी नहीं है जैसे कि माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया
access people
मतलब इसके बाद का
प्रज्ञा ये जो ड्रॉ वाला है ना हम लोग नहीं कर रहे हैं बाद में हम नोटबुक में कर लेंगे ड्रॉ द स्टेज आफ्टर
नोटबुक में कर रहे हैं तो जगह ही नहीं कैसे
कमेंट को मतलब ये फोर्थ वाला क्या है वो
वही क्वेश्चन ना
हाँ वही क्वेश्चन
तुम रहेगा ना तुम रहेगा ना
टू बाकी
हाँ वही चीज है
टू
बाकी दूसरा कैसे
हाँ वही रहेगा क्योंकि एनाफेज में सेंट्रो में डिवाइड होता है वो दोनों से अलग 5 में बच जाता है
दो ही रहेगा
हाँ तो जितने भी नंबर ऑफ वो ये है ना उसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट
क्या नंबर ऑफ ATGC प्लीज शॉर्ट ATG adenine thymine uridine plus cyclosamine name the number of chromosomes present in the ऐसे नहीं है सर 15 है study the diagram ये क्या है
क्रोमोसोम
ये तो क्रोमोसोम है वो 15 का वो सेकंड वाला दिखाया है ना वो क्या है ऊपर वाला नहीं
सेकंड न्यूक्लियर मेम्ब्रेन
न्यूक्लियर
थोड़ी ना सेल वॉल होगा
Dance? 10th standard or 5th standard, it's the same. है ना? Done? Any doubt in all these questions? Got the answers for all?
yes
Well, how much time do we need? What is it?
Ma'am,
what is the technical term for the division of nucleus?
it should be caryokinesis.
Karyokinesis. Karyon means nucleus. Karyokinesis. Cytokinesis, cytoplasmic.
ये टेलोफेज है तो उसके पहले का एनाफेज भी है तो टेलोफेज एनाफेज आएगा ना
वो genetics सीखने के excitement में cell division भूल गए।
ये
एक
माइटोसिस
chapter सीख के दूसरा भी नहीं भूल गए। चलो take it fast. And again I repeat, go through all the questions. Now that I have finished one chapter, all the questions in the volume we are supposed to go through. We have done some questions from the text also.
Yeah.
Go through all the, those of you who are using the other book, you can go through some more questions from that book also, because the questions in that other book are quite good and they come also. Never mind, some topics are extra. But questions is to go through all. That all that I put on the AC, it's okay for you, no?
Yes.
How long? Fast.
This is a compound.
Now that it is in the month of May, you are already aware lectures will be of 3 hours. But you will enjoy it. So 3 hours. So in between any time I may take a short 10-mark test. Anytime, I will not tell you. So keep reading the chapters. Keep reading the chapters. Anytime I will just ask you to write 5 answers, 10 answers. Okay? A stage of cell division I may ask you to draw. So this way you keep remembering things which are, chapter concepts which are done in the past. So as and when we move on to the next chapter, keep reading. How many more? How many more? You are starting any question?
Yes.
So read out now.
Ma'am, let me read the question.
Read.
State the exact location of spindle fibers.
State the
Exact locations of the spindle fibers between the two centrosomes.
between the two centrosomes. Exact location of spindle fibers between the two centrosomes. Nucleoplasm. What are the options given there? Between two.
But there are no options.
Ma'am, it could be between the two centrioles.
Yes.
Option है ना?
Which question? Which question?
Between the two centrioles.
Acha, yeah. State the exact location of the spindle fibers between two centrioles, between two centrioles only.
Centrioles.
This, you are starting with any other? Any other?
Centrioles.
We start with the concept of genetics. Whatever you study in this chapter would be the entire composition of the chromosome. How does the process of inheritance happen? So to start with this, in the 9th standard already you had a concept when I talk about what is the chromosome made up of? What is the chromatin made up of? Even the same thing I had explained you a little bit when I was explaining you cell division. So if I ask you, a cell, this is a cell that I understand, and this cell would be having the fine thread-like structures known as the chromatin. It will be having the fine thread-like structures known as the chromatin. What did I tell you? What is this chromatin made up of? What is this chromatin made up of? Long chains of. What is this chromatin made up of? I told you.
DNA.
DNA. So if I have to understand what is this chromatin made up of, I should say that this chromatin is actually made up of a ribbon-like structure, and this ribbon-like structure is known as the DNA. Then what is the role of the DNA that we have studied in the previous chapter also? What is the role of the DNA? The DNA has got small segments. What do we call these segments as? What do we call these statements as?
Nucleotides.
What do we call these statements of the DNA? What do we call the functional regions of the genes? And the genes are responsible for a particular type of a characteristic that we show. So now, with this concept, we come across that when we look into the process of inheritance, first of all, now we are trying to understand genetics. So what is the meaning of genetics? We are studying about genes. And related with genetics comes the word heredity. What is heredity? Characteristics which keep on passing from one generation to another. Characteristics which will pass on from one generation to another. Now, when I talk about a pair of chromosomes, now already you have come across a concept of homologous chromosomes. Yes or no? You already now know what is a homologous chromosome. What was it? A homologous chromosome is a pair of chromosomes consisting of
One
maternal chromosome and one paternal chromosome. So now, when I talk about these genes, let us now start understanding. I said that these gene is responsible. These gene is responsible for a characteristic. This gene is responsible for a characteristic. Let me give an example of a characteristic. I talk about characteristic like, let us choose a simple one, eye color in human. Eye color in human, a characteristic. So, does this eye color remain the same in all of us? No. The eye color does not remain the same in all of us. So, if I have to understand, yes, this eye color, what are the normal eye colors that we show? We talk about brown, we talk about black, and we talk about blue. Then what are these different forms of our character known as? What are these different forms of our character known as? These different forms of our character are known as traits. What are traits? Different forms of our character. Which part of our DNA regulates a character? The genes. The genes regulate a character. But this character, I talk about a specific example, it has different types. Can you give me one more example of a characteristic? A character which has different types? Different forms it should have.
Skin color. Blood groups.
Okay, all of us, we don't have skin color.
Even hair.
The texture of
The
it.
texture of it.
Is it the same only for, is it applicable only for animals?
No.
Then in case of plants, can you give me an example of a character and their traits?
Height. So it could be a tall or a dwarf.
Okay,
Size of the
something with
lifespan.
Size of the
lifespan.
seed.
Characteristic and its variable forms. I would say the color of the flower. Color of the flower is a characteristic which can have various forms. Shape of the leaves, a characteristic which can have various forms. So same like that. Remember, the word characteristic is not only applicable for animals, but it is also applicable for plants. Now that I say that gene is responsible for a characteristic, and I'm saying that these characteristics has different forms. So this gene also should be having different forms. And what is gene? Now that we understand a little bit further, what is gene? You already have studied that the entire DNA is made up of repeating units known as repeating units known as
Nucleotides.
So can I say that gene is nothing but a chemical composition?
Yes.
Gene is nothing but a chemical composition actually. So this gene obviously must be having minute changes in their composition. That is why these different forms. If the gene would have been the same in all of us, then perhaps all of us would have had the brown color. But the genes that we have, even if I talk about me and my sibling, I may understand that I have brown. Maybe my siblings have black. You also must have come across that you and your parents, you and your siblings, not necessarily that we will have exactly the same. Why? when I talk about siblings, though we come from the same parents, still there may be small changes in the genes, which is responsible for the different traits for a character that we show. So I said what? If the gene regulates a character and the character has different forms, so the gene also should have different forms. Where I understand that there should be some minute chemical compositional changes in the gene. So what are those differences in the genes known as? This will be termed as alleles. So what are alleles then? Different forms of genes. So if I understand that one particular gene is regulating a character and this character has got 3 forms, then I understand that this particular gene that I'm talking about, say suppose I talk about gene X, then this gene X must be having 3 forms. And each of these forms is regulating one such character. So what are these forms of the genes called? Alleles. Then what are the definitions you should understand? Genes you already know. What are genes? Functional segments of the DNA that which encodes a protein to express a characteristics, which expresses a characteristic by producing a protein. That's the job of a gene. So if this gene has variable forms, so what would be the definition of the word characteristics? What are characteristics? Characteristics we define this way. Characteristics can be defined as the form, function, and behavior of an organism or a plant. Form, function, and behavior. Now, try to understand when I talk about form, function, and behavior, I'm saying that characteristic can be considered this way: form, function, behavior. Form meaning what? The shape of the body. I talk about the plant, the shape of the fruit, the shape of the flower. Form. Function, the type of the pigment, enzyme, hormone. Function of cells I'm talking about. What about behavior? That is quite appropriately talking about animals. When I talk about behavior, remember, when I talk about behavior, I am rude or polite, I am tolerant, I am short-tempered, I love the color orange, I don't love the color blue, I love reading, I don't love music. Remember, all these also because of the types of genes that we have inherited from our parents. So why some of us, we are good at certain things, we are not good at certain things, we have inclination for certain things, we don't love certain things. So no, you also must have analyzed for yourself, your brothers, sisters, if you have, your friends. So when we talk about why do we have, now say suppose I talk about behavior. It is quite strange to understand that how can behavior be regulated by genes, but it is. When we talk about behavior, remember, the behavior is also because of the genes that we have inherited from the parents. Yes, sometimes small changes does happen, but that is to some extent only. If I talk about that, I love a particular type of a color, or I love to sing, or I love to play certain sport. It is very difficult to make somebody understand or change altogether the choices and the behavior. Why like this? Because it is all because of the genes that we have. What are characteristics? Form, function, behavior. Then how do we define the word traits? Traits are variable forms of character, variable forms of a characteristics. So how do we define the word traits? Traits are the variable forms. It is the variable form of a character, variable form of a character. And remember, in the concept of character, in the concept of biology, character is not only how rude and how polite and how etc. we are. Everything, bodily features, enzymes, hormones, everything comes under the concept of character.
Now then, what's the difference between an allele and traits? What is the difference between an allele and a trait?
Allele. Allele. Alleles are different forms of genes. Traits are different forms of characteristics. The gene is at a, if I make it simple like this, the gene is working at a higher level. Something like I talk about a country and the country has different states, like that. So I talk about the gene is regulating a character, but since the character, if the character has variable forms, it is understood that in that population, the gene is not present in the same form, the genes also must be having different forms, and so also the different traits. So I would say the genes regulate characteristics and alleles regulate traits. So if I understand that the skin color has almost about 27 traits, that means the gene which regulates the skin color also must be having 27 alleles. I understand eye color has 3 traits. So obvious to understand the gene for eye color has 3 different alleles. So also applicable for the height, so also applicable for any particular feature that you talk about. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So now this is first of all when we talk about the genes and the alleles. Now in the concept of biology, when I try understanding a pair of chromosomes, what is the simplest way of representing? We represent a chromosome pair like this, a pair of sticks, a pair of chromosomes. Every time we will not draw that elaborate structure, a pair of chromosomes. So now this pair of chromosomes we are coming across. I already told you that the genes may have variable forms. Now let me say that this gene or the gene which is responsible for eye color, let me say the gene is something B. I want to explain you this concept, so I choose B now. What did I say? Gene responsible for eye color is B. Genes are basically designated by letters or numbers. All the genes that we have in our chromosomes are either designated by a long set of numbers and alphabets and letters. That is how the genes are designated actually. So to make it simple, I'm saying that let us consider a gene B, which I know is regulating the eye color in human. Now this gene B has 3 alleles. What are the 3 alleles? Let us understand. This is one form, this is another form, and this is another form. Where this form or this allele is responsible for the brownness. This allele, now I'll just write letters to make you understand that there is a small difference in the composition. This you will not find in the textbook, but this is how we explain to make you understand. So now that I talk about that this letter that I'm talking about is an allele which will be responsible for the brownness, this responsible for the black, this responsible for the blue. Now let us talk about 3-4 individuals and try to analyze their chromosome pairs. I talk about 4 individuals in a row and try to understand their chromosome pairs. I'm only talking about the eye color right now. Where I see that maybe this is the same chromosome pair. Which chromosome? Maybe I'm talking about the 6th chromosome of 4 individuals. I'm talking about the 6th chromosome of 4 individuals, and this 6th chromosome, when studied, it is found that in one individual, the alleles are something like this. This entire segment is a gene. And these pair of chromosomes will have certain chemical composition in this and certain in the other. I'm talking about a pair of chromosomes. So in this pair of chromosomes, this is a gene which is regulating the eye color. So there is a composition in this chromosome regulating eye color. There is a composition in this chromosome regulating eye color. Now it can be same, may not be same. So in one condition I say like this. Another condition I'm saying something like this. In the third condition, I may come across a condition something like this. In the third, maybe this way, and in the fourth, in the third, maybe this way, and in the fourth, maybe this way. Let us now try to read how alleles and how are they expressed. Okay. So in the first C, I'm talking about a gene which is regulating the eye color, and the alleles are capital B, capital B. And what do we know? Capital B is responsible for the brown color. So can you tell me what should be the eye color of this individual? Brown. What do you feel should be the eye color of this? Now, here I'm saying the capital B I have considered for brown and BL I consider for black. It is not possible that an individual expresses brown also, black also. Neither any hybrid colors we have. Either of the color we should have. Either black or blue, either black or brown, according to the second condition. But in this condition, we come across that the eye color of the individual is brown. But how? Why? Because whenever we talk about these chemical compositions, again I repeat, the moment I talk about alleles, these are nothing but minute chemical compositions. And in these chemical compositions, we come across there is a sequence of dominance. There is a sequence of dominance in their expression. So if I talk about B, capital B, this particular type of a chemical composition always expresses fullest. What about this? This chemical composition is less powerful than this one. Recessive as compared to this. So whenever I talk about a sequence of alleles, there is always a sequence of expression also. Every particular allele with respect to the previous or with respect to the other may be dominant or recessive. When I compare this and this, which one is powerful? This one is powerful, this is less powerful. When I compare this and this one is powerful, this is less powerful. So ultimately I understand that this is the least powerful. So now the sequence of dominance I will just show this way, that this is the most powerful, followed by this, followed by this. So when this allele and this allele are present together, obviously this will express. And this allele will not allow this allele to be expressed. Okay, so in that case, the allele, capital B, will be considered as a dominant allele, and the allele, this, will be considered as recessive allele. We will learn more about this. So if this is true, then now you tell me what should be the eye color of this third individual? Black. The rule is the same. Why the eye color is black? Because this is more powerful than this one. What about the eye color of the fourth? Blue. Now here we understand something more. So we have now understood that there is something known as a dominant allele, which always expresses either on the other chromosome the same allele is there or not. There are certain alleles which will always express either on the other chromosome the same allele is there or on the other chromosome. See now here, this and this, they are known as contrasting alleles. This allele and this allele, they are contrasting. This allele and this allele not same, but still this is expressing. This is not expressing. This allele and this allele not same. This is expressing. This is not expressing. Comparatively, this is dominant. This is recessive. But when I talk about this allele will express only when on the other chromosome the same type is there. If I put here this one, or I'm sorry. If I put this one, then brown. So you understand that for the expression of blueness, both the chromosomes should have the same allele. So if that is true, when an allele expresses only when in both the chromosomes they are present, then such type of alleles are known as recessive alleles. They are the true recessive alleles. Now, when I talk about certain terms, also let us understand. When in a pair of chromosomes, the two alleles are different, what do we call this type of a situation as? This is known as a heterozygous condition. What is the meaning of heterozygous? In a pair of chromosomes, the alleles are dissimilar. Alleles are not the same. In a pair of chromosomes for a gene, the alleles are dissimilar. What do we call this? The pair of chromosomes has got two similar alleles, no? Same identical alleles. So we will say this type of a condition is homozygous. So what did I say? Homozygous and heterozygous. So what is the meaning of heterozygous? A condition in which a pair of chromosomes will have two dissimilar alleles. Homozygous, a pair of condition which will have two similar identical alleles. But now, what is the difference between this and this? What is this? Homozygous or heterozygous? Homozygous. The last one also homozygous. But what is the difference? I would say this is a dominant allele because we are writing it in capital letter. The capital letters we always use for dominant alleles, and the small letter, the lowercase letters, we always use for recessive alleles. So that is the concept of genetics always. Whenever we have to designate a dominant allele, we will always use a capital letter. And whenever we have to designate a recessive, always using a small letter. So now try to understand the difference between these two. Homozygous conditions can be of two types. What is that? I may understand this is known as homozygous dominant. This is known as homozygous dominant. Yes or no? They are homozygous, at the same time they are dominant. What about this side? Then what do I write? This is homozygous, but at the same time they are recessive. Homozygous but recessive. But can I say heterozygous can have types? No, heterozygous means heterozygous, where the alleles are just different. Heterozygous doesn't have any types to consider. It is just different alleles in the pair of chromosomes. So now, when I talk about this particular concept, what is homozygous, what is heterozygous, what is dominant, what is recessive? Let us learn the definitions of the dominant and the recessive allele. What is the definition of a dominant allele? An allele which expresses, understand first and then you will write, an allele which expresses both in the homozygous as well as heterozygous condition. An allele which expresses both in the homozygous and heterozygous condition is always a dominant allele. What about a recessive allele? Is this allele expressing?
No.
Is this expressing?
No.
Is this expressing now?
Yes.
So this allele is not expressing in a heterozygous condition at all, but it is expressing only in a homozygous condition. So an allele which expresses only in the homozygous condition and does not express in the heterozygous condition is a recessive. Will you be able to write down the two definitions?
Yes.
Right? Take out your notebook.
On the second case, B is the dominant end. Can there be a chance that the dominant allele does not express itself and then there can be a change in eye color, that it can be the recessive allele, like the black?
That would be rare. If I understand that, would be either an error or a mutation or something. Under normal conditions, no. If it is a dominant and on the other chromosome recessive, then always a dominant. Now, say suppose in human population, that's why we come across more and more individuals we have got the brown hair. Why? Because majority of us, we have got a combination something like this. Majority of us, we have got a combination like this. So that's why this is expressing. Then can you tell me, when will the black color express? People are there with black eye also, no? Can you tell me, if I have to express black color, then how do I write the arrangement of alleles in the pair of chromosomes?
Black and white.
This and this. No? Then only the color black is getting expressed. Let us write down the definition. Homozygous, dominant and recessive. That's a definition. Write down the name of the chapter. Dominant and recessive. What I told you, what is a dominant allele? An allele which gets expressed in the homozygous as well as heterozygous condition. Look here, try to understand an allele which is getting expressed in the homozygous as well as heterozygous. And what is the recessive allele? Getting expressed only in the homozygous condition, never in the heterozygous. note both the definitions?
Yes.
Note. Now, something more from this concept we'll have to learn. We have already come across the concept of homozygous, heterozygous, dominant, recessive. Now, this form in which the alleles are present in our sets of chromosomes, in our pairs of chromosomes, what will we call these as? Say suppose I'm writing that this is a pair of alleles in our chromosome. What will we write? This arrangement of alleles, what is this called? This arrangement of allele is known as genotype. What is genotype? The arrangement of alleles, the alleles present in the pair of chromosomes. What is genotype? The alleles or the allelic pair that is present for a gene. So what is genotype? I told you. The allele combinations, the allelic combination for a gene. The allelic combination for a gene present in a pair of chromosomes. So that is what is known as genotype. Are we able to see the genotype? Is genotype visible?
No.
No. You can, if you look at me, you can see my eyes are brown or black, but are you able to see the chromosomes and the arrangement? No, of course. So genotype is not visible, we cannot see. But this is what is responsible for the brown color. And can we see the brownness or the blackness and the blueness of the eye? Yes, we can. The brown and the black and the blue we can see. So this is what is known as phenotype. This is phenotype. What is phenotype? The visual expression. The visual expression of a gene or a pair of alleles. Visual expression of a gene or a pair of alleles. That is called phenotype. Can you give me one more example? Now what is phenotype? I told you. The eye color that we can see. The texture of the hair that we can see, whether curly or straight, we can see. Height, short or tall, we can see. The amount of hemoglobin, less or more, we can test and understand. So form, function, behavior, yes, we can understand. But when I talk about the genotype, no, genotype we cannot understand. Say suppose, what I mean to tell you is, I may talk about two individuals who has got brown eyes. Both have brown eyes, but by looking at the eye, can you understand whether the person is having a genotype like this or like this? No, we cannot. So that is what I want to tell you. The genotype is something that we cannot understand. But what can we see is the phenotype. Phenotype is visible. So what is genotype? The allele pair, the allele combination for a gene in a pair of chromosomes. And what will be phenotype in that case? Visual expression. Visual expression. So all these pairs of terms that you will have to come across first of all. Now look into your book, there's a set of some characters and traits. You have to look into all these, which are characters, which are traits. You will just stick that table. Read later to understand what are some characteristics and what are some traits. Okay. Sometimes you just ask one or two questions on this. What is a trait? What is a character? Say, so for example, I'll just tell you what you should remember. Say suppose I talk about free or attached earlobe. Free or attached earlobe. Now here, most of you, I get to see that you all are having free earlobe. But you must have come across some individuals who have got just straight earlobe like this, joining the muscles of the face, no? Where this lobe is not there, as if it's just cut out from here. Straight, that is called attached. So you get a question, attached earlobe is a character or a trait? Trait. So, see there, when we are talking about the earlobe, structure of the earlobe, eye color. So, what is a character? What is a trait? Any particular character which has got variable forms. Skin color is a trait or character? Character, because the skin color has got various forms. Now, here it is written albinism and normal, but we also talk about that we can be fair or reddish or dark. So, reddish, fair, dark, this would be the traits. Skin color is the character. So, only few things to remember. Yeah. Now, when we talk about the chromosomes, here let us try understanding that in our cells, how many types of chromosomes do we have? In our cells, the chromosomes are always arranged in pairs, and that also in a definite pattern. In our cells, arrangement of chromosomes are in a definite pattern. Look into that pattern which is already given in your textbook. Can you see there? There's an arrangement of the paired chromosome. And these paired chromosomes are arranged according to their size. What is this called? Karyotype. You underline that word. These are small things to remember. Karyotype. What is karyotype? The arrangement of the chromosomes. Arrangement of the chromosomes according to their size. But now, when I talk about arrangement of the chromosomes according to their size, I may talk about certain chromosomes like this. Certain chromosomes may be one type of a chromosome will be exactly same size of the arms. One type of a chromosome would be something like this. Another type of a chromosome would be something like this, or if not this way obviously. Another type of a chromosome would be something like this. So there are 4 types of chromosomes that we have. How do we talk about the 4 types of chromosomes based on the position of the centromere? Centromere. What is centromere? Centromere is the primary constriction. At this region, the coiling of the chromosome is maximum. The coiling of the chromosome. Remember the coiling around the nucleosomes and all we had studied, the histones and all we had studied. So here, the position of the chromosome can decide 4 different shapes of chromosomes. So that is one, and based on these, their lengths also, the arrangement of the chromosomes are there in our arrangement of the chromosomes in our cells can be done. But actually, in our cell, it is just at random. But if that can be put together in a particular arrangement according to their size, then what will such type of an arrangement of chromosomes known as? That will be termed as karyotype. Underline that word, karyotype. So here you get a chart with number of chromosomes of different animals. So you don't have to study all these chromosome numbers at all, only the chromosome number of human. That is what you'll have to remember. So what is the chromosome number of humans? 46. And that is the diploid or the haploid number? Diploid number.
That will be 20.
20. Okay, we'll continue again in the next. Diploid is 2N.
मराठी का एग्जाम है और उसमें 4 2 पैराग्राफ करके
ये बैंकिंग का जीएसटी में कौन सा नया
बैंकिंग का मार्क्स दे देंगे बट जीएसटी का बता
ये जीएसटी का फर्स्ट और सेकंड इसका सबसे इजी है
ये है क्वेश्चनेबल
अगर तुम्हारा
वो बाद
कैलकुलेशन
में समझ नहीं आता आउटपुट टैक्स और इनपुट टैक्स का होता है
हमारा क्या स्टेट
आता
तू करना
क्या करना तू क्या वो रेड वाला Got it?
We